where we were to where we are today, people at least know their army. For the right things or the wrong things, that apart, but at least people know what we are doing, where we are, and what we stand for. As far as the army is concerned, our concern always has been to always remain prepared for the tasks that are assigned to us. We have primary tasks, we have secondary tasks, and we have subsidiary tasks. There are also tasks which are unlisted, which I have always referred to as operating beyond the mandate. And I do give some preference to these tasks as well, because I feel that with such a large armed forces, men in uniform, spread throughout the length and breadth of our country, at places where even the administration has not been able to reach out. We are the ones who are there. Inhabitants of our country who live in those remote areas, their reach to the administration is only through us. And therefore, there is something that we need to do for them as well. And that is what I refer to as operating beyond the mandate. It's providing succor, providing facilities to them. When I talk about keeping the army prepared for the task that we have, it is basically ensuring that the soldier remains empowered to carry out his mission. Not only is he empowered, but he is trained, prepared, and equipped. Empowerment, training, and equipping him is very much a leadership task. But to give him his modern systems to be prepared for the kind of conflict that we will be faced with requires a thought that we need to deliberate upon. What I am trying to highlight is, yes, we need modern weapons, we need modern technology. Some of the issues that we need to address is, what is the kind of technology that we need in our context? We have to look at the adversary and not necessarily copy what world armies have. We have to get systems that are best suited for our requirement. Numbers. I often find that we go in for numbers based on the strength of the army without really looking at how future combat will be fought. Is it going to be a war of attrition? Is it going to be contact which is going to be face to face with the adversary? Or will there be other methods that are going to be applied? Must we put that money? Is it just that we need to give the frontline soldiers all the weapon technology that they have in the largest numbers? Or we need to give him technologies which will help him carry out effective surveillance, identification, and then engaging the target. Then does everybody need to have a similar weapon system? Or can there be differentiation of weapon systems depending on the nature of task each one is going to perform? And then, of course, our involvement and commitment in internal security or countering terrorism, insurgencies. There you have separate requirements. So do we need to have separate technologies for that, or can we use dual technology, which can also be used for conventional operations and can also then be utilized by troops involved in counterinsurgency? Or is the requirement different? If the requirement is different, then how much do we need to put into that? And then, of course, are the other tasks, like, for example, management of disasters, looking after some of the healthcare and education facilities of people who are in remote areas. There are more in the production line which the HAL actually wants us to take as far as the airage is concerned. We are ourselves going slow because of the maintenance of the existing helicopter fleet. We find if we just keep taking and the maintenance requirements are not met by the HAL, then there's a problem. So we want that whatever is the existing fleet, firstly we must ensure that we at least have 70 to 80% serviceability of these helicopters rather than just going in for numbers. So this is happening. At the same time, the WSI squadrons have also come in. The same thing with the weaponized version has also come in. So this is moving well. As far as now let's come to a next grade of helicopters. When you come to the utility helicopters with the lift capability, it is basically an Air Force charter to support us with these kind of helicopters. And therefore the Air Force has got the Mi-17 V5. They have asked for additions to this fleet of theirs. They want to import more of these helicopters to meet the Army's requirement, because they feel that if there's any transportation requirement that has to be met, then it is these helicopters that they have that they will meet a requirement. So really speaking, transportation requirement of helicopter of the Army is an Air Force responsibility, whether it is by a fixed wing aircraft or it is by helicopter. So this will be their responsibility to come in. They are also looking at the Chinooks coming in, which I would say is yet to be looked into. But yes, we have identified the Chinooks also to come in. Chinooks will actually come in when the ULSA comes in, because once we get that ultra light howitzer, for that movement, Chinook is a very good helicopter. To say that everything is going to be now hunky-dory and that Pakistan is going to be isolated, is going to be declared a terrorist state, I don't think it will move that way. There are compulsions on US also to maintain a kind of a relationship with Pakistan, and Pakistan understands that, and US also understands that. So while these pressures are being put, because this is something which Mr. Trump had said when he became the president, to say that yes, we will make sure that a fight is against terrorism, and we'll make sure that the ISIS is removed from this earth, and whatever he had said. So it is part of that same policy that he's following, that anybody who's harboring terrorists or who's supporting terrorism, action will be taken against them. So it's a part of that policy that is moving forward. Is only now, when people said that there are going to be pressures on Pakistan, so the one pressure that has come up is actually on religious intolerance in Pakistan. So it is against that. But to say that complete pressure has been put on Pakistan, let us see. It's a step-by-step process. It will be too premature for us to start saying that everything is now going to be in our favor, and that the US will do our job, what we are expected to do vis-a-vis Pakistan. We will have to do our own job. So as far as that is concerned, I think we will have to look at that. And when we look at an assertive China, well, China is emerging as a powerful country, and it claims now to be, I would say, another global power, but certainly it has emerged as a regional power in the region. जो terrorists यूज कर रहे हैं, हमारे कुछ जो BPGs हैं वो उनके खिलाफ असफल हो गए. अभी वो एक लेड कोर बुलेट लेके आ रहे हैं. AK-47 राइफल में एक लेड कोर बुलेट है, स्टील कोर बुलेट. ये जो स्टील कोर बुलेट है, हमारी जो पुरानी जो बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट थी उसको पेनिट्रेट कर रही थी. तो हमारे पास इसके बावजूद हमारे ट्रूप कैजुअलिटी सफर कर रहे. तो हमें क्या किया कि नया GSQR निकालना पड़ा इस बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट के लिए. तो ये जो नया GSQR निकाला है, इसके हिसाब से हमने अब उसकी टेस्टिंग कर ली है, और ये बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट अब प्रोक्योरमेंट में है. कुछ बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट हमारे पास आ गई हैं. जहां पे हमारे पास इमरजेंसीज थी, वो हमने अपने आर्मी कमांडर्स को बोला है कि आप बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट अपनी पावर में प्रोक्योर कर लीजिए. तो नॉर्दर्न कमांड और ईस्टर्न कमांड के आर्मी कमांडर्स ने अपने आर्मी कमांडर स्पेशल फाइनेंशियल पावर्स के जरिए ये बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट प्रोक्योर कर ली है. बाकी जो है 1,86,000 जो बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट और आनी है हमारे लिए, इसका साइकिल शुरू हो चुका है. इसकी टेस्टिंग हो गई है और प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसेस शुरू हो गया है. लेकिन एक साथ ये हमारे को मैन्युफैक्चर नहीं दे सकते, तो 20-20, 25-25 हजार करके हर क्वार्टर में हमारे पास जैकेट आती रहेगी, और मिड जून से हमारे पास ये जैकेट आनी शुरू हो जाएगी, और 2019 के एंड तक हमारी सारी रिक्वायरमेंट मीट हो जाएगी. तो ये बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट 1,86,000 की प्रक्रिया मैं कहता हूँ शुरू हो गई है. पटका था वो वाज फाउंड टू बी नॉट इफेक्टिव. तो हमने एक बैलिस्टिक हेलमेट भी ली है, जिसमें पहला ट्रांस ऑफ दी हेलमेट है वो आ गया है, और हमने इसको सबसे पहले कुछ हमने सिक्किम के इलाके में दे दिया जहां हमारा कन्फ्रंटेशन हो रहा था डोलम में, और बाकी हमने नॉर्दर्न कमांड को दे दिए ताकि जवानों के पास ही आ जाए, और बाकी प्रोक्योरमेंट साइकिल हमारी चल रही है. तो बैलिस्टिक हेलमेट, इसके अलावा हमारे कुछ UN मिशन में भी कुछ बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट और ये बैलिस्टिक हेलमेट प्रायोरिटी में भेजने पड़े, तो हमारे को अपने ही इनमें से कुछ हमने निकाल के यूनाइटेड नेशन मिशन में कॉन्गो और सूडान में भी भेज दिए, क्योंकि वहाँ ये रिक्वायरमेंट थी कि जो आपके जो बुलेट प्रूफ पटके हैं वो ठीक नहीं है, आप हेलमेट्स भेजिए. तो उसके हिसाब से हमने इनको वहाँ भेज दिया. लेकिन ये प्रक्रिया जारी है, और बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट और बुलेट प्रूफ बैलिस्टिक हेलमेट जो है इसकी प्रक्रिया शुरू हो गई है. हमने टेस्टिंग कर ली है, सब कार्रवाई हो चुकी है, और अब प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसेस जारी है. इसके ऊपर गवर्नमेंट ने हमारे को सैंक्शन दे दी है, तो ये आनी शुरू हो जाएगी. उन पोस्ट को टारगेट करते हैं जहां से वो टेररिस्ट लॉन्च करता है. इसलिए अगर उसके पोस्ट पे अगर फायरिंग हो रही है, तो वो तब हो रही है फायरिंग जहां हमें पक्की खबर होती है कि वहां पे टेररिस्ट का बेस है, और टेररिस्ट को वहां से पूरी तैयारी करके वहां से इन्फिल्ट्रेशन के लिए तैयारी की जाती है। ये वो जो है बंकर जो है सिविलियंस के लिए बन रहे हैं, क्योंकि हर एक घर के पीछे जो वल्नरेबल है उसके घर के पीछे भी मैंने कहा और कुछ नहीं तो एक खड्डा खोद दीजिए 8 फुट बाय 8 फुट का, उसके ऊपर चादर लगा दीजिए, कम से कम घर के पीछे उसमें जाके वो बैठ सकता है तो वो सुरक्षित रहेगा। तो ये हम करने को तैयार हैं कार्रवाई, ताकि इस प्रेशर से हमारे को सीज फायर में कमजोरी ना आने पड़े। अगर हम सीज फायर वायलेशन हो रहा है और अगर हम पाकिस्तान को मुंह तोड़ जवाब दे रहे हैं तो सिविलियन कैजुअलिटी की वजह से हमको ये अपनी जो कार्रवाई है उसका लेवल डिग्रेड नहीं करना चाहिए।